NVIDIA stock is down over 40% from its recent highs last year. It was sitting around 150, now it's all the way down below 100. Investors are worried. They're going to be looking very closely at NVIDIA's Q1 FY26 report, and I think a lot of people are going to be shocked when it finally comes out. I'm going to show you why in this video, but first we're going to look quickly at my Q4 results against analysts and how we stacked up. So on the left, you'll see the EPS estimate, and on the right, the revenue. Our EPS estimate came in only 1 cent higher than what we were seeing as the actual in green. We were a little bit high on the revenue. Gaming came in pretty light, which was a lower margin, which is why EPS wasn't impacted as much. So we were about in line with the analyst error, just the other way on this one. And so we're looking to really dive into those revenue segments and maybe figure out a way to get a little bit more accurate over there. So recently, the most important thing for NVIDIA's earnings and estimates has been that infamous 8K filing. And the 8K filing that you see on your screen right now is basically just a newsletter from the company saying, hey, there's been material changes to our company. You might want to know about this. And in this case, it's bad news. We don't have to wait till earnings to find out. The government informed NVIDIA that they can't sell their H20 chips in China. This is due to the ongoing tariff trade war situation. H20s were also used to create DeepSeek and their supercomputer concerns. So a one-time charge of $5.5 billion is hitting NVIDIA on Q1. This is going to be a GAAP non-operating expense, and so there really isn't going to be a lot of impact on the non-GAAP measures that investors like to read in these reports. There's going to be lost sales numbers, but that's only for about a 2 week span of the fiscal quarter, as you see at the bottom of their filing. So there isn't going to be much impact on the revenue, and we're going to get into the breakdown of that right now. So now we're looking at a graph of the NVIDIA data center revenue and their quarter-over-quarter growth rate for the past 2 years. Data center revenue has seen a very solid increase over time, while the quarter-over-quarter growth rate is dropping and normalizing. You can see that for the last 3 quarters, we hovered between 17 and 15%. I don't think that we're going to get back to the 17% area given this 8K filing. I know it's not going to affect a lot in terms of sales, but there is going to be a material impact on sales for 2 weeks. So I'm thinking more of that red, yellow in between, which is going to be around 41 billion in data center revenue. All right, moving on over to a sneaky segment. Some people might not even think about this one when they're talking about NVIDIA revenue. This is their robotics and auto segment. If you look at the blue line, that is their revenue, and the red is the growth rate. You can see that it's steadily increasing and has been spiking. That most right value is my projection, with a slight slowdown in quarter-over-quarter growth, but a still solid increase in revenue. This segment is going to be interesting to look at with the China restrictions, as the EV maker BYD is a huge customer when it comes to NVIDIA Auto AI. Humanoid robots will be an interesting development as well. All right, moving over to gaming. On that second to right value, that large drop, that was last quarter's actuals. You can see how that came in much lighter than my expectations. And I do have a rebound coming in Q1 projected. The reason for that is some strong reports from hardware makers like Sony. Forward guidance was raised by them. Microsoft will be a big player in this one, so it'll be very interesting to see what they say. I don't have us returning to the growth positive of recent quarters, back below towards around 16%. So my revenue estimate on this one's about 2.75 billion. Moving over into professional visualization, this is basically just their RTX data platform. It's a very specific use case for some people, kind of an erratic growth rate, and of the smallest segment by revenue. It would really take a big miss or beat for this to really be impactful for investors. It's still something to keep an eye on, though. I do project about 0.55 billion in revenue. So the next slide we'll be able to see our total estimates for revenue all combined into one little page and what our actual total revenue estimate is. So you're looking at 41 billion in data center, 2.75 in gaming, 0.7 robotics, 0.55. All that totals to 45 billion. You're about to see a very large text wall, and this is part of my written report, and the highlighted circles are each of the inputs we're going to need to calculate EPS. And so what I'm writing right now is the calculation to get us EPS. X is going to be that EPS number. R is our revenue we just showed. G is the gross margin I was circling. O and N are operating and non-operating expenses. And we all divide that by the shares outstanding. So I'm going to write that out. I'm going to substitute those numbers in that we just talked about. And then I did end up doing the full calculation for you so you could see what those numbers look like. We'll go ahead and speed this up a little bit for you. Plugging in those numbers, you're going to see at the end we get about 0.997, which means rounded to the nearest dollar, that EPS is going to be $1.00. So looking at our TLDR, we've got an EPS of $1.00. The estimate currently is about 92 cents. That's changing. And my 45 billion in revenue versus the 43. My price target is about 135 a share. That's given about $4.50 of FY26 earnings per share and about a 30 times valuation. And I've got nothing but questions when it comes to guidance. And the reason for that is if you just Google the president and Fed chair's names, you're talking about them calling the other a loser, stocks tumbling, the president trying to fire them. So I'm going to follow up on the guidance for now, but leave it for your imagination. If you want to see what I end up putting for my guidance number, these are the places that you'll be able to find me. Obviously, you found it to my YouTube right now. I also post on Reddit, specifically the NVDA subreddit, like I'll link my long written analysis, as well as Patreon. My Patreon account is where I'm going to be housing all of my most detailed reports. They're going to be coming out first. You'll be able to message me and I will respond. So if you find that interesting, go ahead and check me out over there. I greatly appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.